Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again going for a walk and doing what I do. This is what I do. If it's your first time here, welcome along. I walk along in beautiful locations such as this, and I give my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world, in the public consciousness. And yeah, beautiful locations, just so you don't have to look at me, you can look at the location rather than me. And for those returning subscribers, all 710 of you, I think it is now, welcome back. It is an honour and a privilege to have you all here. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you spending time with me and spending time in these beautiful surroundings. So, welcome. Now, today I'm titling this video, Hearts and Minds. Now, if we look at the state of the world right now, I mean, we can see, anybody who's watching anything, can see that there's a state of turmoil in the world. And it is deliberate. Now, I've been talking about this for quite some time now, and today's video is to try and give you a sense of what's going on and why, really, because we can all see what's going on, but as to why it's happening, that's another story, and we need to understand the why so we understand what's on the other side of this. Okay, all right, so Let's take America, for instance. We'll start there. Don't worry, we'll get around. Now, we see turmoil in the workforce. We see turmoil in supply chain shortages. We see turmoil everywhere. And it's deliberate. It is 100% deliberate. Now, there's a lot of discussion as to who's in control of what in the US. Uncle Joe, sleepy old Uncle Joe, who is supposed to be in charge. No, he's making decisions that are benefiting the country, apparently. Benefiting the country by keeping a lot of ships offshore. Afternoon, how are we doing? Keeping a lot of ships offshore, keeping the country locked down, saying to large employers that anyone with more than 100 employees has to make sure that everyone there has had them. You know what I'm talking about, the thing that I'm not allowed to talk about. Because if they don't, then they have to leave their job. Now he's doing this through OSHA, which is Occupational Health and Safety regulations that have issued no such regulations. It's all a con. But he's made these rules, and people have to abide by them. They're not rules; they're guidelines, or they're what's the other word they like to use? Guidelines, rules, mandates. Mandate. None of them mean law, by the way. So requirement, guidance, mandate. It's not law. You don't have to comply with that. It's nonsense. Now, but what we see is that this is where the confusion comes in, because is he really in charge? And if he was, would he be doing this so obviously to mess things up so bad that people are going to notice? I think there's an element of both going on here. That there's what happened with November 3rd, 2020. I think we know what happened then. That's being exposed through the audits, and I think that there was, because of what happened there, that the actual government in charge is not the one that you think it is, but they're being allowed to expose themselves for being the corrupt, evil, corrupt people that they are. Afternoon, how are we doing? Walking along talking to myself. Yeah, that's the usual. Have a great day. So this exposure of these people by themselves, doing through their actions, they're keeping people locked down and such, is creating a very strange scenario that the more communistic, the more tyrannical, the more crazy, the more ridiculous these mandates, requirements, the words that I'm talking about, the crazier they get, the more people are seeing it and going, hold on a minute. Hold on, something's not right here. Even the people that were fully involved in this narrative for the entire time are even questioning this now and saying, why have we got this segregation? And that's what this is. We have a segregated society. We have people that are being told they're not allowed to go to the shop. and buy food if they haven't complied. You must comply. Compliance. Now, when we talk about compliance and government, now I've talked about this before. The government is made by the people. They're supposed to represent the people. Do they represent the people? Are they representing you and your best interests and the country's best interest? Are they? That's for you to decide. But the more that, I'll give an example. Here in this country, fuel prices, they said they're going up 30% for the winter. And it's the same in America. And they've already been 30% up over the summer. So it's 60% rise in fuel costs. Okay? Food costs, we're talking about CPI. It's a consumer price index, which is inflation, basically. So they're saying the CPI for between August and September was 5.3% in America. It's not. You're looking at the price of meat, especially, is up 15%. So does that sound like 5% to you? The consumer price index, a lot of the metrics that go into the CPI, the one that they tell you is the CPI, a lot of the things that go into that are not, a lot of things that should be measured in that are not being measured in that. Does that make sense? Okay. So we see the price of fuel is skyrocketing to fuel your car. The price of heating your home is skyrocketing. The price of your food is skyrocketing. And why is that? Because of inflation. They just keep on printing more money. And they're talking, in America at the moment, we're staying with America, they're talking about printing another $3.5 trillion for infrastructure. Infrastructure. What did I read? It was some toad or something that they were going to spend $28 billion on. It gets ridiculous. It gets more ridiculous by the day. While people are starving, while people have been thrown out of their jobs for not complying, they're spending $28 billion on a frog. Something ridiculous like that. You go and have a look at it. I mean, it is. It's utterly, totally ridiculous. But this is out of control government. Now, what we see in the world is this convenient thing that we've been living through for a year and a half, conveniently came along as the financial system is starting to collapse. Because if the financial system were to collapse, and it is, under its own stupidity, without an event, then the fingers would all be pointed at what? The government, central banks, where it should be directed. But because so many people are wrapped up in the narrative, if things were to collapse now, or they were just going to let it collapse, then the people would just be angry, and it would be it would devolve into something terrible. We'd be people would be shooting each other in the streets, and we don't need that. So what has to happen is slowly, information must be fed into the public consciousness about what's going on. The corruption, the fraud, the hypocrisy, like we have people in government that don't have the mandate. They're excluded from it. The same with the companies that produce those things that we're not allowed to talk about. They've been excluded as well. They don't have to either. So we've got rules for one and not rules for another. So that doesn't sound very good right there. But as more and more of these things get exposed to the general public, the people that bought into this whole thing over the last year and a half, as more of these things get exposed and more of these irregularities where you have, different people have different rules, more and more people are going to question. And as more people question, we get to a situation where more people start to see it. The more tyrannical things get, the more people wake up and see it and start to question and go, hold on a minute, something's not right. To win over their hearts and minds. Now, we have to have a pretty good proportion of the population for that to happen. Like if you were an invading force, let's say, and you were going to a country and you were going to take over that country, if you were just going to go in and take out the leadership, then the people of that country wouldn't be behind you and you'd soon fall. Doesn't matter what kind of military presence or anything you had, you'd fall because you need the people behind you. So in America, that Hearts and Minds campaign is underway. Listen to what they're chanting at the football games, at the Daytona. F Joe Biden, or let's go Brandon. It's not let's go Brandon. We all know what they're saying. It's fuck Joe Biden. Why are they saying that? Because of what he's doing to the country. Now let's leave America just for a moment, okay? Let's hop over the pond to here in the UK, where everything's wonderful. That's not. So we read, I've told you before, I'm into digital assets, cryptocurrencies. I look at a lot of different things to determine what's the truth in all this. I mean, I don't know what the truth is. I'm guessing the same as you are, but I read a lot. I look at a lot, I listen to a lot, and I try and piece all those pieces together to make a coherent picture. Is that picture right? It's not for me to decide, it's for you to decide. I've made my decision about what I think, but that's up to you. I leave it to you. I don't tell you what to think. I'm planting ideas for you to mull around in your own head, and then you can decide what you think. If you think I'm crazy, well, and people do, a lot of people do, even though if you go back, when I started these videos where I was talking about inflation and all these crazy things coming to pass, and it's almost like I'm Nostradamus. Almost. Except I'm not. It's because I read what the plan is, and there is a plan. This is the thing that you need to understand. It's a plan. It's all planned out long in advance, and nothing's cropping up. This is all planned out. So here in the UK, as I've said, we've got a fuel hikes, of course. The governor of the Bank of England, Sir Ian Cunliffe, I think his name is, Cunliffe, Sir Ian Cunliffe, Sir, another knight, along with Jimmy Savile, who was knighted. Even when we had all the allegations of paedophilia and necrophilia from Jimmy Savile, of course that only came out after he died. Convenient. Even after all that, did they rescind his knighthood? No. Best friends with Prince Charles he was. Knighted by the Queen he was. And while we're on that subject, let's have a little bit of a walk down memory lane, shall we? So we have the royal family of this country, okay? We have a member of that royal family, Prince Andrew, who was associating with a convicted paedophile, okay? Not just, we're guessing that he's a convicted paedophile and Jeffrey Epstein. This is Prince Andrew, a member of the royal family here in the UK, okay? Now, the Met Police here have called off their investigation and said, no, we're just letting it go. The FBI wanted to talk to Prince Andrew, and the royal household protected him and said no. Even though the head of the Met Police, a lady by the name of Cressida Dick, that's her real name, look it up, Cressida Dick, said no one's above the law, no one. That's suspicious, don't you think? That's strange. No one's above the law except maybe Prince Andrew, because we're not investigating him anymore because he's a member of the royal household. I think that's interesting, don't you? So you've got the Queen knighted a paedophile necrophiliac who was also best friends with Prince Charles, her son, and one of her other sons, Prince Andrew, was staying at a convicted paedophile's house in New York and meeting with him multiple occasions before and after he was convicted of pedophilia. But there's nothing to answer to. Nothing to investigate as far as the Met Police are concerned here in the UK. Like I say, you get to decide what you think about that. I know what I think. There's a lot more I could go into with that subject. I won't. That's for another video. And that will be coming soon. Because where is the Queen? Where is the Queen? Anyway, another subject. We'll get onto that another day. So, the head of the Bank of England, Sir Ian Cunliffe, yes, that's his name, has said Bitcoin poses a threat to the world economy. It could collapse the world economy. Not the stupidity of just money printing out of their ass with nothing to back it, like literally. No backing whatsoever on the currency, and let's keep on printing more of it, which is why they keep on printing more of it. Commercial banks are doing that. If you don't know how the money system works, it's the whole thing's a fraud. It's all based on nothing. They just print the money. Well, they don't even print it anymore. It's just pressing numbers on a keyboard to make it appear on the screen. Look at that. We've just created $5 billion or £5 billion, wherever you are. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's all the same mechanism. It's all the same people. Who owns the central banks? Here's a question for you. Now, we hear these numbers getting tossed around all the time. The world is in debt to the tune of $300 trillion. 300 trillion. You know, nearly 30 of that is America. Okay? 300 trillion. Who's that owed to? Who is it 300 trillion owed to? Who do these countries owe that money to? The central banks. Who owns the central banks? And how did they come up with that 300 trillion? What assets are they backing that 300 trillion that they lent to the government with? What are they backing it with? They must have 300 trillion in assets, right? Do they? Oh, but it's the government bonds, Chris. You just don't understand. You're too stupid to understand. Okay. What are the government bonds? What are the government bonds based on? The GDP. What's the GDP? Gross domestic product. What's the gross domestic product of a country? What does that mean? You're the gross domestic product. Traded commodity, you are. Like I say, we're going to go into that in depth in an interview I've got coming up. I was hoping it's going to be this week, but it will be soon. And you're going to find out all about it. Your birth certificate, the straw man. Oh, you're going to learn all about it. You're not going to be happy. But you'll be happy when we get to the end of the story, because you'll love how the story ends. It's wonderful. Now, they're talking about Bitcoin bringing down the world economy. Okay? Bitcoin. So how would that work? So at the moment, people are losing faith in the currency. Well, we should, because it's worth nothing. It has no intrinsic value whatsoever, backed by nothing. Okay? It just means that they can just continuously print it. And if they can continuously print money, why are we paying tax? Anybody? Anybody at all? Oh, but we should pay tax, because then we can fix the roads and empty the bins. And you really need to understand what's been going on for a long, long time about the financial system. And like I say, we will be getting into that very, very deeply, but I've done some videos in the past about it. So if you're inquisitive, go and find out what it means. Go back and have a look at some of my old videos and you'll see what I mean. So they're making up all these excuses as to why things are happening or why they're going to happen, okay? So that's been fed into the public consciousness. Yep, that Bitcoin's going to bring down the world economy, okay? Why? Because people are taking their money out of the money, the cash, the fiat currency, the thing that they call money with the numbers on it, and they're putting it into something like Bitcoin. I'm not saying invest in Bitcoin. I don't own Bitcoin. I used to own Bitcoin. I don't like the mechanism. The mechanism of how it's created is very wasteful and it's very slow. So I don't own Bitcoin. But when you're talking about Bitcoin, you're talking about cryptocurrency in general. Cryptocurrency. Okay? Cryptocurrency, which is what XRP was labelled in 2015, was a digital currency. But now the SEC is saying it's what? Security? So it's a security and it's a currency. It's the security of what, I wonder? But anyway, we're getting off the track. So the Bank of England, so Ian Cunliffe saying this, the Bank of England is saying that Bitcoin's going to bring down the world economy. Okay? Bank of England is a paying customer of Ripple. Ripple is the company that issued XRP onto the market. They use, the Bank of England is a paying customer of Ripple. They use Ripple's technology to transfer money. So when they're talking about, it's all a scare tactic. This is it. It is all to get you to do what they want you to do, because it's easy to manipulate people. Oh, we'll just bring the price down, everyone will sell. Bring the price down, we all buy. We buy the dip. But you see all the narratives being set up. Now, the other narrative that they like to use is Brexit. Here in the UK, Brexit. Oh, it's just, we have a labour shortage because of Brexit. Really? Okay. Because all the Europeans had to leave. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. How many Europeans are still in this country? From Polski, my wife's Hungarian. How many Hungarians, Polskis, Latvians, Lithuanians, lots of Eastern Europeans still live here. So why is there a labour shortage again? Not that the government kept everyone locked down for more than a year. That's got nothing to do with it. But this is the thing. The narratives are being built for a very particular reason. Afternoon, chaps. How are we doing? Good, thanks. So this is the thing. You need to understand that these narratives are there to cover for their malfeasance and for the collapse of the system, because they don't want the fingers pointed at them. They want to conveniently point the finger at something else, which is Brexit, which is the foreigners, which is China, Russia, whatever narrative they're going to use for this. It is all a distraction away from what they've done. I've talked about it before, the inversion of reality that's happening right now. There's lots of reasons for that. If you want to know what that is, go back and have a look at the old videos. It's no point rehashing the same thing over and over again. But the point of this video, and this is, I'm trying to stress this point to you, and this is the most important thing I can say to you. What's happening, I'll park this puppy up here. What's happening now is a hearts and minds campaign. And that means that as we go further down this road, and we're going to go further down this road, things will get worse. You'll see bare shelves in the supermarket. You'll see more businesses closing because they just can't get employees. Why can't they get employees? Because people are getting paid to sit on their ass at home for lots of different reasons. People are sick. I don't know why they're sick. Probably because they're not having supplements, getting vitamin D, looking after themselves, getting some exercise. They're listening to the wrong information. They're listening to people saying, stay inside, stay away from people. Don't go outside and get some fresh air. Don't take supplements, they're no good for you. You're listening to the wrong information. Now, as we go down this road, and we will go down further down this road, things have to get bad. Because, as a certain letter of the alphabet that we're not allowed to talk about either has said, sometimes you can't tell the people, you have to show them. Now, nothing changes when everyone's comfortable. We've been through this story with this before, but for the benefit of the new people joining us, thank you for being here. I will tell you the story once again. It's the story of the lobster. Now, I love this story because this clearly outlines why things have to be the way that they are right now, right? So lobsters are a very unique creature, and they have, from the day that they're born until the day that they die, they grow. They're always growing, which creates a problem for the lobster because they have an exoskeleton, a hard exterior shell. Now, as they're growing, they grow into that shell, and it gets to be a little bit uncomfortable. But they can put up with it for a little while, and it's okay, but it's starting to get a bit uncomfortable. As time goes on, it gets more and more uncomfortable, and gets to the point where the lobster can't stand it anymore. It puts up with it until it gets to that point, a breaking point, where it says, that's it, I can't stand it anymore. It goes and finds a rock, drags that shell off, it strips off the shell, and it's exposed for a short period of time. Then it grows a new shell, and it repeats the process. Now, the moral of that story is that nothing ever changes when you're comfortable. You have to be pushed to a point of extreme discomfort in order for you to get to a point where you go, that's it, I can't stand it anymore, and do something. It's the same in our society. You don't leave a job until it gets to be so uncomfortable that you just can't stand it anymore. You're just like, oh, you know what, I've had enough, I'm out. You get to that breaking point. We're not there yet. There's too many people that are they're continuing in the narrative, that are so lost in the narrative they can only see what they're being told by the propaganda machine that is the mainstream media. And because they're lost in the narrative, us here, I assume that you're here because you see something wrong, but us here, we have to be patient and wait for those people to catch up. And it's not easy. I hate it. I can't stand it. It drives me absolutely insane when I'm trying to say to people, how can you not see this? Honestly, it's lunacy to me that people can't see what's going on, or they justify it in some way. Oh yes, but that's because of that, or it's because of Brexit. Yeah, we just can't get any staff. We have to get to that point of breaking point. We have to get to that point where people can't stand it anymore and just, that's it, it's done. Because we, you, me, everybody, we have the power. The government doesn't have power over us. They only have the power because we've given them power. Now, this is going to be an unpopular thing to say, and I understand why, but I'm going to say it anyway. Now, when Trump was running for president, and he said, we're going to give the power back from Washington, this is in America, but it's the same everywhere in the world, don't worry. He said, we're going to give the power back to you, the people. Now, what do you think that meant? Do you think that meant, oh, well, I'm going to rule the world and you're going to do what I tell you? Or does that mean you have the power? We have the power. We decide how this world is going to be. There's billions of us in the world. And there's a small group of people that are running the world with this tyrannical power that they only have because we grant them that. As soon as you stand and say, not doing it anymore, then everything changes. So this is what we have to go through. We have to go through this hearts and minds campaign of winning over those people that believed everything for the last year and a half, just believed all the terror and the fear and the worry and the doubt and the panic. And the only way that can get through to them is by making it so difficult and making their life so impossible. You can keep on complying, and you comply and comply. And what am I saying there? 2 weeks to flatten the curve. As soon as we did that, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, then it was just a slippery slope from down there. Then it's the muzzle, the muzzle. Then it was like that thing, the thing we're not allowed to talk about. We're not allowed to question that, which should raise some alarm bells right there. If you're not allowed to question it and everyone's being forced into it, why? So compliance, what does that get you? Where has it got us so far? It's got us deeper in the toilet. And this is deliberate. It is what you don't want, you'll keep on getting as long as you tolerate it. So while we go through this period, and it's going to be horrible, it's the only way for people to be shaken out of their slumber to go, what have we done? What have we allowed to happen in our society where we're fighting against each other, man against woman, black against white, gay against straight, trans against everybody apparently, or everybody against trans apparently. I don't even know how that works anymore, but we're going to come back to that. We're going to do a talk about that subject in particular. It has to be done. I'm going to at a future date. We will touch on that, but not today. But this is the thing. We're all divided against each other, and for what? Who's benefiting? Are you benefiting? Am I benefiting? No. It's the people that are running the show that are keeping us in there exactly where they want us. So all we need to do is recognize our power, stand, much like Rosa Parks. You know Rosa Parks? If you don't know, go and look. We have to stand and say, no, I do not comply. We need to change the way we're doing things because this way doesn't work. This is what this is all about. Hearts and minds. The Hearts and Minds campaign. Winning over those people that are lost in the narrative to say, hold on, something's not right. Now, if you recognize it, other people will too. So if you think this is going to benefit people, then share it. If you like what I'm doing, hit the like button. If you really like what I'm doing, subscribe because there's going to be lots more to come. And I swear to you, we will win as long as we stand together and recognize, even with our differences, we don't all have to think the same, we'd have to dress the same, we'd have to look the same, we don't have to be the same, but we can recognize our common goal, which is to stand against tyranny. That's what this is about. I do not comply, neither should you. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here and take a walk with me in these beautiful locations. I hope you come back and join me soon. But go out there, do some good in the world, do good, be good, and we can change the world with what we're doing and how we're influencing the world with our actions, with our thoughts, and with our words. All right, thank you so much. Love you all. Look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care.